Sometimes you just got to fight it out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
So
fight
who
they
won
did.
that fight between Beth and Summer? I
Nobody
think
won.
Beth took the W.
Listen,
Beth took
I
the W,
was
dude.
kind of waiting for Rip to come out and say, "There's no fighting on this ranch. You want to fight
I said the
somebody,
same.
you fight me."
Yeah. And then he just uppercuts Beth. Ah.
Yeah, but he did
Get outta
handle it
here.
well. You guys just gonna stand there toe to toe and
Listen,
exchange.
bunkhouse rules, baby. You don't get along, fucking settle it and be done with it. Beth and Summer had a little fucking showdown. I was expecting the Japanese guy from Godzilla to come out.
Let them fight.
The shitty Godzilla movie, to be.
I didn't
to be
know where you
exact.
were going with that.
I'm a little bit torn on this episode. I'm gonna be honest with you. A little.
It was nice and slow, just the way I like it.
Yeah, it started out a little bit too. This show has a tendency, more often than not, to like do something in an episode that you expect to have like a crazy fallout in the next episode, and then it almost never does. It almost is always just like glossed over.
Seeing the fire at the end of the last episode when Beth is sitting outside and she looks out and you can see the smoke. They didn't do anything with her. They're like, yeah, it burns, it's burning, it's lightning, whatever.
I mean, that they could be setting up for later on. Like, there's going to be some fire or maybe it's not the natives or corporate people that take the ranch. Maybe it's just Mother Nature that takes the ranch.
In the beginning of the episode, early in the episode, we see Jamie and the market equities chick. She showed up to Jamie's office and they were talking, about last night. And Jamie's like, yeah, it was inappropriate. And she's like, oh, you mean that because if we're in a relationship, you can't litigate. And he's like, haha, joke's on you. I'm not litigating, LOL. And then she just undresses. So, like, does she like fucking him or was she setting him up? Like,
No.
I don't know. It was a little bit unclear.
She's playing the long con. Obviously.
I'm sure she's having fun fucking him, but she is also
No way.
setting him up. You don't think so?
She said she enjoyed it.
No, she's definitely setting him up.
Well, yeah.
She's setting him up, but she's also having fun while she's doing it, is what I'm saying. Like, it's not like she's not enjoying it.
I think it's just work. I think it's just work for her.
Yeah, I think that's kind of...
She's probably done this to so many dudes and ruined so many lives. It's like, I'm just fucking. Who cares?
I agree.
It means nothing.
Like, the whole thing is fun for her is what I'm saying. Like, not just
the whole process.
Like, she's having fun setting him up. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
She's like a spider setting her trap,
The fucking
This is a different type
mother.
of rating. This is a different type of rating.
Yeah.
Beth thought she was a corporate raider. Nah.
I think they made it pretty clear that this is just her job. Like,
Oh, yeah.
she'll win by any means necessary. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
for her.
but I would still put Beth above Sarah, actually. I'm
we'll
going to disagree with
see.
you there, Marvin.
We'll see. I mean, listen,
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
they ain't introducing her for nothing. I still think she's going to give Beth the run for her money when they show down.
Absolutely, but Beth will have the upper hand, I think. She'll win it.
But I
don't think so.
I also think Jamie's playing a little bit of a long con too, because he was like, "Yeah, I knew you were fucking trying to fucking get me caught, but guess what, bitch? That shit don't work."
Ahead.
Somebody in our comments from the last,
but then she was a
episode-
step ahead of that step, and she was like, "Oh no, I want to fuck again." So you're fucked.
Yeah, there's a lot of 5D chess being played.
Reel them in. Speaking of Beth is still doing a lot of reflection. I think she's feeling very insecure right now.
Yeah,
her loss of power is destroying her, basically.
Which is
why she's always been self-sabotaging, but without the power, it really seems that she doesn't have anything else to do. So she's just...
That's why ultimately I think she'll lose the battle.
Yeah.
Because she's not at 100%. Somebody in our comments from the last video, they theorized that perhaps she's kind of like in cahoots with Jamie and that like they're kind of on the same page and they're just like double team setting up Sarah.
It's possible. I think that would be like a new type of ploy that they haven't really shown in the show so far, though. They usually kind of it seems like they kind of lay everything out, what's happening.
Well,
like they don't really have any type of behind the scenes where it's like, oh, these guys are working together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unless I'm forgetting something. Maybe it could be.
It's plausible that we get into a situation where we see Jamie with Sarah and she thinks she has him and Beth walks in the room and says, no, bitch, we had you the whole time.
Surprise, motherfucker.
That's plausible. We could see something like that happen, even though they don't set it up like they normally do. So
yeah,
It's possible.
It's definitely possible. Yeah.
Well, the last bunch of episodes I had been saying like, oh yeah, now this is the season we're going to see the reverse. Beth's going to fuck shit up and Jamie's going to be the hero, blah, blah, blah. This episode kind of changed my mind a little bit because the bulk of this episode, really the entirety of this episode was dedicated to Summer and also showing that Beth can actually behave given the right circumstances. So this episode to me really set up the fact that like Beth can find common ground with an enemy like Summer. Therefore, she could also find common ground with an enemy like Jamie when shit hits the fan, and it has to be that way.
You have invited your worst enemy to sleep in your bed. And if you think that she was fucking you last night, give her 3 months.
Because there was no other way that this was going to resolve. Like, this chick is staying in the house for 6 months. Beth doesn't like her because she's an outsider who doesn't respect their ways or doesn't understand their ways and is choosing not to understand their ways. There was no way that they would have resolved this without just kind of hashing it out.
I think it was smart that they went ahead and did it because we
Yeah,
were going to
it
get sick and
would've boiled
tired
over.
of seeing them
Bicker and do all their
arguing
bullshit.
together.
Back to what Dusty said about the fire. I actually forgot the fire from last episode until you actually mentioned it. I didn't realize that there was a callback to that when Summer was speaking.
I mean, it was at the very end when Beth's sitting down reflecting.
Yeah.
She looks out to the mountains and you see like it's not you can almost can't really tell. Like I had to rewind it. I was like, is that clouds or is that smoke coming up? And it looked like smoke. So
Right. Earlier in the episode, Carter is talking to Summer and she's like, what's that smoke? And he's like, oh, it's a fire. It's a forest fire. It happens every year. And she's like, what causes it? And he says, God causes it. She's like, God causes the fire? Or he says, God will put it out or something like that. She kind of like snarkily responds to him, as would I. And he says,
I was going to say that.
He says, yeah, he'll bring the rain. And then she says, no, nature will bring the rain. And he says, yeah, that's what I said.
Only thing that can put it out is God.
God puts out the fire?
God brings rain. Rain puts out the fire.
Nature puts out the fire, kid.
That's what I said.
And I thought that was really interesting. And there's a quote that it reminded me of from a astrophysicist by the name of Hubert Reeves. And he has a quote that says, man is the most insane species. He worships an invisible God and destroys a visible nature, unaware that this nature he's destroying is the God he's worshiping.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in the show reminded me of that quote right away because, you know, he said like, yeah, he says God and then she says nature and he's like, yeah, that's what I said.
Well, this is a story that we've heard throughout Yellowstone before. I mean, John said it himself, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if this is season or last season. He says something along the lines of people stopped living with the earth or with nature or with, you know, or the earth and started living on the earth.
True.
Yeah, well,
I remember that.
It's interesting to me as a heathen in that whether you're somebody from my perspective or somebody else's of faith, really at the end of the day, you are technically worshiping the same thing. It's just nature, right? Whether you believe nature is
except
God
when you tear down nature to build a mega church.
Yes, that's also a good point. Yeah. But that continues to be very much the theme of this show, and really in this episode through the character arc we're about to see take place from Summer, where she's like an outsider, as I said, in this house and in this way of life, and she's all about like, I'm a vegan.
This is all
and
alien to her. It's foreign. Yeah, she grew
Yeah.
up as a rich white girl in a city, and her parents were vegan. And
John is constantly owning Summer, and I enjoy it every time. She's always trying to say some woke shit, and he's just like, no, that's not realistic. It doesn't work that way. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Well, I do. I mean, she's annoying, and vegans are just annoying in general. However, one of the things that
Oh shit.
I mean, they are, because they're always preaching, which is like, all right, fine. Like,
shout
I
out
get
to
it.
all the vegans that watch the channel.
It's something that I personally, I guess, grapple with because I'm very much like her in terms of like, I don't support fucking killing animals and all that shit. but I'm not a vegan. I do eat meat. So like in my mind, every time I eat it, I'm like, this is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, you confuse me with that. You don't don't understand the concept of like hunters going out and hunting a deer and bringing that meat home, but you're okay just going to the grocery store and buying a steak and saying, yeah, this is good when I cook it up.
No, with hunting is the like when it's done for sport, and like, yes, I get that a lot of people bring it home and cook it and eat it and all. I get that.
Almost all.
But hunting,
if you're hunting for sport, if you're like big game hunting, you're a rich asshole that has the money to go out and hunt whatever you want, wherever you want.
Right.
Like you're talking about like the 1%. Most hunters are hunting to provide food for their families.
the thing with me with hunting is like I hate how it's like for a lot of people who hunt like as sport, and when I say sport, it's like, yeah, it's fucking go hunting for the weekend. Like those types of hunters, because they're not feeding their families. Let's face it, they're just doing it as a pastime, which is like whatever, do what you want to do. But for me,
doing both. Well, they're doing both.
In my I hate the people who make it like such a big part of their identity. It's almost like people who smoke weed, where it's like that's all they fucking talk about. It's sometimes hunters are like that. It's like it's just all they talk about. And it's like, all right, we get it, bro. You fucking hunt, okay. But yeah, so Summer's very much, she's like learning the ways, and the resolution between Hunter and Beth is really nice. They kick the shit out of each other. Marvin poses the question, who won the fight? I guess Beth, because Summer ended up just crying on the ground. But Beth was also crying too, to be fair.
Well, Beth is country hardened, and she took the least amount of damage. So Beth absolutely won that fight. But I think know. Beth probably held her punches a little bit too.
Beth took a pretty severe kick to the vagina.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. She also spit out a tooth, so she has some more internal damage. Yeah. But she also, I don't know, maybe she was protected by the Botox. It's like armor.
I think technically the fight was even because, you know, they came to their little, you know, resolution. And, you know, I was joking with you, Marvin. We were watching it together, and I was just narrating like, all right, well, they're BFFs now. And that's kind of how it was, because they're at the dinner table, and Beth's like, so you never ate meat? Ooh, watch those potatoes. They probably got butter in them. And then after the fact, before they were going to ride away, you know, she says, you know, while we're gone, why don't you walk around here and understand us? And I bet you'll find no forest anywhere in the United States that's more well-kept and cared for than here. Basically just trying to show Summer, like, yeah, our way of life is different and may seem to oppose your views, but just because
we're not the enemy building airports.
Yeah, just because we're killing animals and doing all this shit, we still care about the land and we take care of it. The other bulk of this episode, and it's the title of the episode, Watch 'Em Ride Away. Fucking literally everybody is going off on a couple of day journey. I think they're getting the cattle, right, and herding them back to their proper fields and stuff.
They're going up to rough country where they can't set up base camps or anything to herd the cattle back down.
Casey's going, Tate's going, fucking Beth decides to go. At one point, I even thought Summer was going to end up going, but she's got to stay back with Monica. And she's going to learn some shit. In the preview for the next episode, you know, she's looking at the grave and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I mean, this episode was really that, I think, the calm before the storm, to be honest with you, because, you know, the market equities thing is obviously going to be the overall story of this season.
Yeah.
And at one point, John even mentions to Beth that he needs Summer by his side because of her opposing views in terms of like conservation and stuff like that. So he might have some
She throws a valid counterpoint at him though, and they have that conversation. She's like, she's just like everybody else. It's the land they want. They don't want you to have it because they think they can take care of it better.
Right.
Yes, that was a very valid point. But it does seem like he has something up his sleeve in terms of using her in some sort of capacity, maybe in his cabinet or something.
So if you had to guess now, does Summer somewhat come around to John's vision and help him?
Yeah, 100%.
Or does she follow the path that Beth predicts, and she's going to stab him in the back later, and it's going to break his heart, or, you know, betray him? Does she betray him or help him in the end?
I think she'll help him. I think it's clear that she's learning that like they have because she sees them initially.
So Beth is wrong, is what you're saying?
Yeah, Because she sees them initially as like, oh, you're raping the land. Like, at least to me, it seems like she's going to start to come around to see like, oh, well, you're not really doing the things that I thought you were. You are very mindful to appreciate and take care of the land. Because really, ultimately, that is the whole reason why John is like fighting so hard for the land. I mean, that's a huge part of it, is that like he feels like because his family's been there for so long that his family and his worldview is the one that will keep it in its current state.
Yeah.
Sort of everybody, all the major, elements of this show feel that way in their own way. The Native Americans feel like it's their land, they could handle it better, so on and so forth. So
yeah, I could see Summer working with John, but you mentioned Monica and Summer getting some bonding time. I could also see maybe Summer leaning more towards the natives and trying to help them get the land back.
I think they're slowly building to show in each generation ultimately that they are not really enemies with the natives, as Yellowstone kind of shows with him and Rainwater. I think it's going to end up showing that like they're more partners, for lack of a better word, in keeping this place like free of all the bullshit.
Their visions of the valley are similar.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of ownership
and control
that they disagree on.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody else, the outside world, New York, California, and everybody they're demonizing, wants to come in and
totally change
industrialize it and commercialize it and profit off of it. So yes, they have very similar ideals on the valley.
Real quick, you say that, but then I think of Rainwater and how he wants to bring the casinos, and he was for the airport because it brought jobs and that sort of thing. So they do have some differences there, but I do see what you mean.
But Rainwater has a whole separate other responsibility in helping his people gain some sort of...
John Dutton's tribe is much smaller than Rainwater's tribe. Rainwater has a lot more people to worry about, and getting them jobs, sustainability and everything is so he like getting
Rainwater he has a responsibility to his people to help them gain some sort of equity in life.
Yeah, you have to balance wanting to conserve the land versus destroying part of it essentially to make a casino, airport, whatever type of infrastructure you need for more jobs.
Well, which is why, I would imagine from his perspective, he's like, well, if anybody should be in charge of building this shit, it should be me and our people.
Right.
So that's why he was fighting so hard to like get involved with like all the, the fucking real estate people and whoever the corporations coming in. I could very much see by the end of this series, however many seasons it goes, maybe before then, I could see the land go, like Marvin said, going back to the Native American tribe. I think that would probably be the ultimate outcome.
I think so.
I think they've like telegraphed it enough too with like, No, with like, Monica and Casey. Like if Casey took over the ranch tomorrow, like what's he going to do? He would probably make that decision.
So, or a portion of it at least. Yeah.
So I think that'll be the ultimate outcome. But this episode here was good. I like the stuff between Beth and Summer. It was cool to see Beth be like somewhat normal for like 5 seconds. Yeah, she's going down a dark path. So this was good to see her maybe pull back a little bit.
Without Rip, dude, she would be a mess.
Yeah, no, Rip
clearly.
Rip's really... I need you to put the crazy away,
Put the crazy away.
Do you want to go? And she's still, I don't put my crazy away.
Yeah. Rip's really the only one who could rein her in.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the parable of the children real quick? John Dutton sat down and he said, I have one I miss, one I pity, one I regret, and then obviously Beth is the one that he envies.
I think it's up for debate.
Who are the other 3? So obviously my roommate and I got into a big disagreement about this. We concur that he probably misses Lee because Lee is dead.
I mean, probably
obviously.
Right?
I envy him.
Well, I mean, I could turn a story on this. Now, I think that he regrets the choices he made with Casey, and Casey is the regret.
You have no regrets? Not one?
And that he pities Jamie because Jamie didn't have, he was just thrown into this. He didn't have any choice. And he's trying to make the best of it, but he's making some bad mistakes. And my roommate's like, no, he pities Casey because Casey's going through all this shit. And he just regrets Jamie altogether. And so we had a staunch disagreement on that parable.
It's up for debate, and I'll tell you why. Because earlier before that, he said something to someone about only have one son, right?
That's your youngest son?
That's my only son, Clara.
So that's already
Right.
discounting Jamie.
Correct.
And we don't count Rip, but we should count Rip. I think what was it? Regrets? What were the three?
He misses one, he regrets one, and he pities one.
He misses I forgot
Lee.
his name. Lee.
Lee.
He definitely misses
dead.
Lee. He pities Casey. I agree with that. No, actually, he could regret some of how he pushed Casey away. That was
That's
my
what
point
I
there.
think. Yes, he regrets
And also,
pushing Casey away.
but real quick, I think he pities Beth. I think he's discounting Jamie as his son. I think he envies Rip as his son because Rip doesn't have to deal with being the governor, doing all this political shit. Rip just gets to sit on the ranch and be a cowboy and run the ranch.
Yeah, but when he said envy, he said, I envy her because she's so free. He didn't say
Oh,
there's
did
one
he
I
say that?
envy. He said, I envy Beth.
I don't think
So
this
he's
is this deep. I think it's pretty just clean cut. Like one of his kids
Right.
died, clearly misses him. Pities Casey because he lost his kid just now, and regrets fucking adopting Jamie because
You don't get to decide what's fucking deep, Dan. We can talk about the shit.
Right. Well,
I didn't say we couldn't talk
like
about
I
it,
said,
I
I
just-
could spin it a different way. Like he misses Jamie, or no, I'm sorry. He misses Casey because he pushed Casey away.
But Casey's
He
not away
regrets-
anymore.
He
Casey's
regrets
back.
the decisions. He's kind of back. He still wants to leave.
Not
he
really.
regrets the decisions he made that led to Lee's death. He could regret that. Or,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he could regret that he didn't tell Jamie sooner that he was adopted and let him live his own life. Like there's a lot of regrets that it could be any one of them. But pity is a very particular feeling. And I don't think that a man like John Dutton would pity his own like flesh and blood sons. Like I feel like he would feel more pitiful towards Jamie because Jamie isn't his son.
Pity has two
Mm.
definitions, though. I think you're using the negative one of
The negative connotation.
regret or
correct.
disappointment. The other definition
Yes.
of pity is sorrow and compassion caused by the suffering and misfortunes of others,
Right.
Mm.
which would completely explain Casey. But
Sure.
uh,
So, and this is why, like, I call it a parable because you could argue it almost any way. And it is an interesting way that he only told us one. He said, I envy Beth because she's so free. Could you imagine that free? And, could you? It's
yeah,
amazing,
I think
but
the more
the
mysterious.
other three is an interesting, I think it's an interesting conversation. And that's why me and my roommate got into it and why I wanted to bring it up.
I think the more
Yep.
interesting piece of dialogue from him was what Marvin said, where he said to his assistant, "I only have one son."
Yeah. When she
Yeah.
asked if that was your youngest.
Seems
yeah.
bizarre that you would, if
say
I had,
that and then later say I pity or
no,
regret
no,
one
no.
of them.
If I had a dead son, I would just say I have two sons. One passed away. I wouldn't be like, oh, that one doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
And even more than that, I think Rip has more than earned his right to be considered John's son. So that was a bizarre thing.
He
I only have one
treats
son.
him like a son, but he's still not his son. And
yeah,
I think
know.
that's
I know. We love
that's a
semantics
distinction
here,
without
but
a difference.
I'm just saying.
Well,
like,
yeah.
that's why it's just bizarre that he specifically said, "I have one son." It discounted
That's
like
what I'm saying.
everyone else. So
It's weird.
that was weird. But yeah, no. In terms of that parable, I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
Not that one.
But
I
now
think
that
it's pretty
yeah.
straightforward.
When you said that, he did say that it was Beth that he envies.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
Because they were
fucks me
literally
all
they were
up now.
specifically talking about Beth, and then afterward,
Right.
Yeah.
after he says the three, he's like, "But her I envy because she's so free or whatever. Imagine being that free or whatever." Interesting, nonetheless. We got a little preview for next episode. Looks like something crazy might happen up in the mountains, but knowing this show, as I said
Yeah.
earlier, every time they set something up that could be big, it usually tends to just be like not so big. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Because they're the fucking Dutton Avengers and nothing ever really happens to them where they don't all live.
Yeah,
No one's going to die this season because they lost baby John.
that's not what
He was
Taylor
the
said.
sacrifice.
Nah.
He was the sacrifice to keep the rest of the family alive.
Well, let us know, folks, what you thought of this episode of Yellowstone. This was episode 5. Watch them right away. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think of Dusty's parable. I don't agree with it. But we cover Yellowstone every week. So if you liked what you saw, consider subscribing if you haven't already. And you can click on the playlist over there to see our other season 5 videos. Catch you in the next one.
See ya.
Cowboys don't say goodbye. They say see you later till you're in that fucking dirt.